Welcome back. The board that oversees the Defense Department's cybersecurity maturity model certifications losing 2 members. Leaders of the board say it's part of the normal churn of an all-volunteer organization. Eric Crusius, his partner at Holland Knight. Eric, welcome. Thanks for coming on. Does this turnover surprise you at all? Is this a big deal or anything that people that follow CMMC are concerned about?
No, I don't really think it's that big a deal. I mean, you have, as you just mentioned, it's an all-volunteer board. They have a lot to do. CMMC is a huge undertaking, and all these folks have full-time day jobs that they're balancing along with their CMMC board responsibilities. So it's not at all really surprising, at least to me, that there is going to be turnover on the board. I mean, obviously, ideally, we'd see the board continue and stay throughout the CMMC rollout process, but I think that's a lot to ask of the folks on the board.
We're seeing the General Services Administration adding CMMC requirements now to some of its GWACs. What does that mean for the companies that want to sell not just to the Defense Department, but that want to sell across government?
It's really interesting because, as you know, like a GSA schedule, if the clause is in the GSA master contract and it's not kind of taken out during the task order phase or delivery order phase, it's going to be in your contract. So I'd be interested to see if they put some kind of limitation on the CMMC clause in the GSA schedule where it only applies if DoD says it applies or if the agency says it applies. Because, I mean, I think we've seen this coming for a long time that if this DoD CMMC rollout begins to be successful, civilian agencies will start adopting it. I could even see the private sector starting to adopt it. So this could be the start of that trend. But it'd be interesting to see if kind of GSA kind of put some limitations in when the CMMC clause would apply, because for now, the DoD folks have a say in whether it applies to a particular contract.
When you talk about the private sector potentially adopting it, what does that mean?
I mean, it means that companies that have no business doing business with the federal government or have no desire to may have to go out and get a CMMC certification, have a third-party certifier come in and assess their cybersecurity systems. And that's nothing that's been formally announced, of course, but it just seems like we're moving it as a country in that direction where, there are these security breaches and we're desperately finding a way to stop them. And if this works as a way to kind of mitigate all the cybersecurity breaches we're seeing, may turn out to be a standard that the private sector will follow.
We keep hearing about the possibility of reciprocity for companies that have FedRAMP compliance, that have FedRAMP authorizations. Anything new there?
I mean, the latest I heard is at the end of the fiscal year, we'll see some kind of guidance document that will allow the DoD or the assessors to take FedRAMP certification into account. We have FedRAMP, which allows for POAMs, program, changes or correcting shortfalls along the way if there is a shortfall in a cybersecurity assessment. CMMC is a go, no go. If you don't check all the boxes, so to speak, and it's not just a check the box endeavor, but if you don't check all the boxes, you don't get that CMMC certification where you can have some plans of action and milestones under FedRAMP. So it'll be interesting to see how they marry those two systems together. But the latest is that FedRAMP will be kind of the guidance on using FedRAMP within CMMC will be coming out later this year.
Are you hearing anything else from your clients about CMMC, the issues that they're having or maybe successes that they're having in navigating the process, or is it still too early to tell that?
It's a little bit too early. I think there's, as this ramps up, I think there are a lot of contractors who are concerned that they're not going to be able to get a certification or get in line to get a certification because there aren't a lot of assessors out there right now who are able to do assessments. And so contractors are concerned that they want to bid on a contract that's going to have CMMC in it. How are they going to go about to do that if they can't get in line for a certification? Then another concern I'm having, of course, is about cost. A lot of my clients are small businesses, and they're concerned about how much it's going to cost them just to do business with the federal government now. I think everyone agrees that we need to do something to stop all these cyber incidents we're having across industries. But of course, cost is always a factor for these companies.
It's one thing, Eric, to say, well, this might not work for us, whether, as a small business that finds CMMC too expensive. It's another thing to say, instead, we should do this. Do we have any sense of what do this instead might be in the case of companies that have a challenge dealing with CMMC, the certifications?
No, that's something I've been saying about CMMC. I don't think it's perfect, but I'm not sure what is a better system right now. I think obviously the self-certifications were not working in some instances where contractors perhaps were certifying not knowing exactly what they were certifying to. And if you didn't have a certain level of information, CUI, you didn't really have to make any kind of certification. And that doesn't mean that the information that the contractors held wasn't important. So, I don't necessarily see a way around this except for some maybe minor restructuring about the role and the functions of the board and DOD and civilian agencies eventually. But I don't think there's a better system out there than CMMC right now.
I want to go back to that board and the churn at the board that we talked about at the beginning of this conversation, Eric. Is there a point where one should say or could say there's more turnover there, there's more there than meets the eye?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, one thing that'll be interesting to see is they're hiring professional staff. They're hiring a CEO, essentially. So I'd be a lot more concerned if that professional staff turned over, because they're going to be the ones moving forward who are implementing the CMMC policy and are essentially making sure that the ship runs smoothly. And the board usually takes kind of more of a backseat overseer role, right, in these kinds of organizations. And here they've had to take that lead role. So once the staff is hired, including the leadership of the body, the accreditation body, and there was some turnover with the professional staff, I'd be pretty concerned. With the board, I can understand why that there is this turnover, just because they have these day jobs, and this is a very demanding job, a lot of scrutiny, a lot of criticism from folks. On the other hand, I could see why some folks are concerned, because we have this really important initiative that's out there, and the cast of folks who are helping implement it does change.
Eric Crusius, thanks very much as always.
Thank you.